Hi folks, this is Karim Rao from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Red Alert lab. This is the video number 1. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. The previous video was an introduction to our lab. What is the story of the lab? What is the structure of the lab? What are the lab files that we'll use? Okay, we have said before that every lab in your IT Visualizer channel must be running or must be introduced through a story. So I am telling a story. Okay, it may be a movie story, maybe a game story, maybe a story, famous story, and through this story we'll introduce or we'll implement different IT concepts. So we are explaining different IT concepts through a story. Okay, this will make the audience more interactive with the playlist, and it will be fun to get information by this way. So we have discussed in the previous video, as I said before, the story of the lab. It was running through the story of the Red Alert famous game, and we have discussed it, and we have discussed what will be the structure of the lab, the Active Directory structure of the lab, and the files that we'll use, the different scripts and files. So in this video we'll begin implementing or actually working with the lab. We will begin creating the domain controllers. We will begin installing Windows Core, but before that I need to show you all a little bit of a graph just to simplify what the Active Directory structure for this lab will be. So let's begin. Here is the just a moment. Here is the domain, which is redalert.internal, and then we will have the main organizational units, something called global IT group, armies, global servers, and all military groups. Global IT group, every army will have his IT, and this organization unit will contain the main IT that will manage all of the ITs in the three armies. So you have IT for the Ally army, IT for the Russian army, IT for the Japanese army, and we will have a global IT that will manage the three ITs in the different armies. And then this is the organization unit for armies that under it will have the three armies, okay, as we will see now. And the global servers, these are the servers that the three armies need to access. So it will be here, and this is all military groups. Here we will contain, or it will contain all of the groups that will include all of the three armies together. So we will make a group here in this organization unit, for example, to have all army personnel in this. So for example, I will make a group called all armies group, and I will put it here. This group will contain all of the three armies in one group. Okay, basically this organization unit will contain all of the groups that will gather the three armies together. Okay, so let's see, we will see after that. Just a moment. Here this is the Russian army, and this is with the American army, or this is the Russian and the Ally army, and this is the Japanese army. And then we will have this organization unit for the Russian army, for the Ally army, and then for the Japanese army. And then we will have the military group for the Russian army, okay, the servers for the Russian army, the command center. Let's consider the servers and the command center. These two organization units will contain servers for the Russian army, okay, and the IT group for the Russian army, and the army camp. This organization unit will contain the users in the Russian army, okay. And then we'll have something called air base and armor facility and seaport and defenses. Air base, armor facility, seaport, and defenses, these four organizational unit will contain computers. As I said before in the previous video, any airplane will be put in this organizational unit. Any tank will be put here in this organizational unit. Any ship will be put here in this organizational unit. Any nuclear or any special weapons will be put in this organizational unit. And we will consider the ships, airplanes, tanks, and special weapons to be computers. So in brief, these two will contain the servers, these four will contain the workstations, this will contain the users, okay, and these are groups, okay, and the same will apply for the Ally Army, the same structure of organizational units. Okay, here we go, and the same done for the Japanese Army. Okay, so this is basically the structure of the Active Directory in our lab. Okay, so now we'll begin implementing or working with the lab. Okay, how we will create the virtual machines, and we will install on every virtual machine, especially the domain controller. We will install Windows Core and put an IP address and put a lot of setting. So let's see how this, or let's have a main view over this structure. Okay, so here we can see that, for example, this is my laptop. Okay, and this is the name of the laptop, and this is the IP address of the laptop. Okay, so this is my laptop, this is the host that will host my virtual machines, and then we will have the program that we will use. It will be called VMware Pro 16 hypervisor program. This is the program that will create the virtual machines. Okay, there is a lot of hypervisors or a lot of programs that create virtual machines. There is Hyper-V, there is VirtualBox, but we will use VM Workstation Pro hypervisor. And then we will have this circle, which is the VMware virtual environment. Okay, and then we will have the domain, which is red alert.interler, represented by a triangle, and then we will have two domain controllers. Okay, and then we will have 5 workstations. This mostly will be Windows 10 workstations and Windows 11, and this will have Windows Core. So let's see here. After that, this is Windows Core. Okay, and then we will have Windows 11 and Windows 10. One of these machines will be Windows 11 and the other will be Windows 10. We will test only Windows 11 on one machine, and the other will be Windows 10. Two of them will be configured as privileged access workstation. I have discussed this before. This is a special type of workstation that we will heavily secure to connect to our two domain controllers, which have Windows Core on it, and the Windows Core doesn't have any graphical interface. So the workstation will contain the graphical interface that will help us managing these two servers, which have which doesn't have a graphical interface. We will see how this will be done in this lab. Okay, and then what we will see, this whole network, okay, will be working with a virtual network. This is the network range. It will be 192.168.1.0. so this is the virtual network. All of these servers or workstation will be within this IP range. Okay, and my laptop will be also connected to this virtual network. Why? So I can communicate. So I can communicate from my laptop, communicate with all of the virtual machines in this virtual environment. Okay, and let's see what is this. This first domain controller will be called RACC01. RA is Red Alert Command Center 01. This is the first command center, and it will contain Active Directory, DNS, Group Policy Management, and the IP will be 192.168.1.8. And the other one will be the second domain controller, or the additional domain controller, which will have DNS, WINS, we don't have WINS here. Okay, Active Directory, Group Policy Management, File Server, Resource Manager, and WSOS, and this will be 192.168.1.9. Okay, so this will be this is an overview of our lab. This is the domain, this is the workstations and servers, the operating system on each workstation and each server, and the virtual network range or the range of the network for this whole lab. And by the way, this lab, or this my laptop, sorry, will be the gateway that will get us to the internet. So all of these virtual machines will have their gateway 192.168.1.2. so my laptop will be considered as a gateway for all of these machines to get to the internet. Okay, as for my laptop, I have a router which is 192.168.1.1. this will be my gateway. So for these virtual machines, I am their gateway, and then I am for them the virtual gateway. As for the real gateway, it is my router, which is 192.168.1.1. So this is a brief about what we will have in this lab, or the whole network as a whole. So let's go and see how this will be done in the real world. First of all, we will go and open the VM Workstation Pro and then virtual network setting. Okay, from here we will have what we will do here. We will create our network, virtual network is VMnet 8. Okay, and this is the range this network will have, 192.168.1.0. okay, so if you doesn't have this network, just click add network. Okay, and then we will have some setting to be done with this network. First of all, we will tell him add network. I have already this network created before, but if you don't have it, click on add network. And then what we will do, just a moment here, let's get back here just a moment. If you open again the virtual network, what we will do, tell him add network, and then we will tell him this is the range. We'll put here the range 192.168.1, but let's first select the network. So here what we will do, we will create a network and then we will select net option, and then we will go here and tell him the subnet or the range of the network 192.168.1.0 and then the subnet mask. Okay, and then we will unclick use local DHCP to distribute IP addresses. So by unchecking this option, we are telling the virtual or the VM Workstation Pro not to distribute IP addresses, because we will make DHCP server in our lab. So we don't need the VM Workstation Pro program to distribute IP addresses. Okay, we will do this by our own self. We will create a DHCP server and we will do this. So we will uncheck this and we will check this option, connect a host virtual network adapter to this network. This is the one, and then we will choose the NAT. Why I'm choosing the NAT? Because this option will get us to the internet. So anyone connected to VMnet 8 will get to the internet. If you don't check this option, okay, you will not get to the internet. Okay, of course you can get to the internet if you choose the first one, but the first one you will get IP address from the router directly. Okay, but I don't need this. Also I need to have my own IP addresses, to have my own DHCP. So we will choose the NAT. Okay, and we will choose connect a host virtual network adapter. We will choose these two options, and then we will add our network range from here. Okay, and let me show you all when we check the NAT setting. If we tell him check the NAT setting, here we can see that the gateway, the router, okay, the virtual router, it is my host IP address. So this laptop has this IP address. So this virtual network will use my laptop as a virtual gateway. The real gateway, it's 192.168.1.1. okay, so consider this one. And after doing this, so all of our servers and workstations will be connected to this virtual network. Okay, so here we will create a virtual machine and tell him next, and then next, and then we will tell him we need Windows Server 2016. By the way, there is no option to install, or there is no menu in the VM Workstation Pro to select Windows Server 2019. It has only Windows Server 2016, but this will work for Windows Server 2019 as well. So you can select it normally, and then we will type the name of the virtual machine, and this virtual machine will be put in a folder in this destination. Okay, so let's go there. Okay, this is the name, and next, and then we'll give it a hard disk of 150 gigabyte. Okay, it is recommended by Microsoft that if you are installing Windows 10, here, just a moment, just get a little bit back here. So here Microsoft recommends if you are having Windows 10 to be installed on a machine, you need to have at least a partition for the system to be 150 gigabytes. This for the Windows 10. As for the server, of course it will be much more, but this is a note to be considered. So we have 150 gigabytes, and let it to split virtual disks into multiple files. He is saying here that this will be easier for the virtual machine to move this virtual machine, if you are making the hard disk as multiple files, this will be easier to move it later, and it may reduce performance with large disks. So if you make it one point, or you make it as one file, this will reduce the performance. So making as multiple files will make the performance of the virtual machine better. Now we have the basic configuration for the virtual machine set. We need to customize it, so we will tell him to customize the hardware, and then we need to give it only 1 GB of RAM and 1 processor. Okay, by the way, I have here for this host, or this laptop has 2 core processors, and these 2 core processors are split to 4 virtual processors, okay, or 4 logical processors. So you have 4. So here I will give this virtual machine 1 logical processor, and I will give it a memory of 1 GB. So let's use it. Okay, and then we'll tell him connect this network through the network adapter, connect it to the network of VM-Net 8. So here I'm telling him to connect the network adapter of this virtual machine to the virtual network that we were talking about. Okay, and I will add another network adapter card, so we will have 2 network adapter cards connected to the same virtual network, and we will make network teaming between these 2 network adapters. So we will team these 2 network adapters. While we are putting 2 network adapters in one virtual machine, okay, in real life these 2 distribute the network load balance on these 2 virtual 2 network adapters. Okay, and the teaming will increase the performance, or the teaming between 2 network cards will have some useful things. So for example, if one of these network adapter cards failed, the other one will work automatically, okay, and you will not see any cut in the connection or a drop in the connection. Okay, but what if you have 2 network card adapters and you don't have teaming? Okay, so if one of them fail, okay, the network or the connection to your server will be down, so you need to go and configure the other or the second network adapter and put the IP addresses and so on, and then boot up the network again, or to restore the connection again. But as for the teaming, if the 2 are working together, if one of them fail, the other will work and the connection will be still there. It will not be, or the connection to the server will not be dropped. Okay, so now we will add another network adapter. Okay, then we have 2, and then we will connect the second network adapter to the same network, VM-Net 8, and then we will add, or we will mount the Windows Server 2019 core DVD. So we'll open and then OK and then close and then finish. Then we will power on this virtual machine. So now we have everything set. We need to power on this virtual machine. We have some additional setting. We go to options, and then we will configure option called shared folders. Okay, these shared folders, these are folders that will be shared between the host or my laptop and this virtual machine. So if I need to take something from my laptop or from my host and put it on the virtual machines, okay, this will be easy, because there is folders that will be shared between me as a host or a laptop and the virtual machine. So basically I will put what I need in this shared folders, and I can see it from my virtual machines or from my laptop at the same time. So here we tell him enable shared folders, and then we will click on map as network drive. So when you open your virtual machine, this shared folder will appear as a network map drive. Okay, so here we tell him map as a network map drive, and then we will add the locations of the folders that need to be shared between my host and my guest. Okay, and by the way, a host is something called on the machine that hosts the program that creates the virtual machines. Okay, this is what I mean by host. Okay, and for the guest, it is the virtual machine created by the program that create the virtual environment or the virtual machines. Okay, so this is called guest. And then here I am adding a couple of folders. I add 3 folders. Okay, and add them to enable this share. So I had 2 folders to be shared, okay, or 3 folders, okay, here. And so here I'm adding 3 folders. This contains all of my source programs and scripts and the lab files. And then we'll go to snapshots and ask me what is this snapshot, and ask me here, if you power off the virtual machine, he will ask you, when you power off the virtual machine, do you need to power it off directly, or you need to revert to a snapshot or take a snapshot. A snapshot, it is a way to take a full backup of the virtual machine. So I am telling him, if I click on the power off this machine, I need mute me, or I need the program to ask me, do I need to power it off and nothing else, or to take a snapshot before powering off the virtual machine, or to revert to a snapshot, or to restore a snapshot, or to restore a backup. So this is good. So when you power off the virtual machine, if you forgot to take a backup, and I strongly recommend that if you are working in a lab, to take regular snapshots from your virtual machines. And this is also done in a vSphere environment, to take regular snapshots. But of course, by time your space will be less due to the large numbers of snapshots. So you need to regularly create snapshots or take snapshots and delete all snapshots. So here you tell him, ask me, and then we will click OK, and then power on the virtual machine and begin working with it to install Windows Server 2019 Datacenter Core. So here we will boot from the DVD. As you will see here, the installation will be much easier, because the Windows Server 2019 Datacenter Core doesn't have a graphical interface, so it will take less space for installation, and it will be installed faster than the regular Windows Server 2019 Datacenter with a graphical interface. So here we will tell him English, or we will tell him next, and then install now. So it will take a little bit of time. Here we will choose Windows Server Datacenter, and here we can see it's saying recommended. This option omits most of the Windows graphical environment. Okay, so this is this system without graphical environment. Manage with command prompt. So we manage this Windows through the command prompt, a black screen, and this black screen is operated by commands. So through a black screen you type commands to manage this Windows, okay, or through a PowerShell. The same. The PowerShell is also a screen or a window with blue environment, that's the same as command prompt. This is black and this is blue, but they have the same function for managing the Windows Server Datacenter. But PowerShell is much more powerful in managing Windows, okay, and we will use it a lot. And this is a way to manage the Windows Server Datacenter directly. We can manage it remotely, so we will have a workstation and we install on it Windows Admin Center and other tools. These tools are graphical, so we can manage these non-graphical Windows with these graphical tools through a workstation that has a graphical interface. We will see that later, so don't worry about it. So here we will choose the Windows Server Datacenter, and then next, and then we will tell him to accept the license agreement, and then next, and then we tell him custom installation, and this is the unallocated space. We will make it one partition 150 gigabyte. Later we will add another hard disk, and we will we will make it additional hard disk to this server. So now we will wait. I will pause the video until the installation is finished. So now it will finish and restart. The first thing it will ask you is to set a password for your first username on this Windows server. The first username created for you to log into the Windows Server Datacenter Core, it's called administrator. You need to put a password for this user, and later, or as a security practice, but let's first wait and see. Here we will see the interface. Here we can see that, just a moment, if you get a little bit further, here we can see that he's saying administrator, the user must change the password. So here this is the first username created for you on this Windows Server Datacenter core to login. Okay, this user should have a strong password, and after that, as a security or best practice from Microsoft, to change the name from administrator to any other name and give this account a strong password and then disable it completely. Okay, because any hacker knows how, or any hacker knows that by default there is this user, and this user mostly is not concentrated by others on it. So I need to change, to put a password and then change its name from administrator to any other thing and disable it completely, and make another user that have the same rights of this user. Okay, for what we will do, we'll tell him okay, and then we'll put a password, and then as we see here that there is no graphical interface, it's only a black screen, and there is commands only to manage it, and then the password has been changed, and then we will have only this window to manage the windows from it. Okay, this is only it. The first thing you need to do is to install the VMware tools on this virtual machine. Okay, why we do this? So we can share things between my laptop or my host and my guest, or my laptop and my virtual machine. Okay, and these tools also installs things that will increase the performance of this virtual machine. It will install some drivers to increase the performance of the graphic card. Okay, and it's mainly drivers, okay, for this virtual machine, so everything will be set up correctly. So these tools enables you to share things between your laptop and your virtual machine, or your host and your guest, and install a couple of things to increase the performance and the integrity between the host and the guest, or the laptop and the virtual machine. So we will do this, and then how we can access this CD. So the first thing you need to know, if you tell him install VMware tools from the VM menu, this will be mounted, or when you do this option, it will be mounted as a DVD. So we need to access the DVD and run the VMware tools from it. Okay, so how we can access the DVD from a non-graphical interface? First of all, your first partition is C. Okay, so the DVD will be taking the second letter, which is D. So you have C and then D. Okay, so your DVD ROM will be D. So how we can access it? We type D, 2 dots or commas. Let me show you all how to do this. We'll type D, 2 dots, and then press enter. Here we are now inside the DVD. So how we can browse the DVD, or how we can list the contents of this DVD? We'll type dir, okay, or directory. When you type it, okay, this is the command to list anything in any partition in the Windows, or any DVD in the Windows, even USB. So this is the command to list the things in the partitions and DVDs or USB. This is an alternative for double clicking or browsing and clicking on the partition or something. So this is an alternative for clicking or double clicking. Okay, so here we need to tell him to run the setup 64-bit. So this system is 64-bit system. So we need to run this setup for the VMware tools, which is 64, or it is for the 64-bit system. So this is Windows Server 2019 Data Core operating system 64-bit. So we will type setup 64.exe and then press enter, and then this will initialize the setup for the VMware tools. Take a note that when you type it, the VMware tools will be the VMware installation window will be behind this window. Okay, will be behind this black window, so you will not see it. You need to minimize this so you can see the installation window for the VMware tool. We will see that now in a moment. Here we can see that when you type here, you will get this is the installation. Okay, this is a window, or the initial window for the VMware product installation, and then the main window for the installation for the VMware will be behind this window, so you're not able to see it. You need to minimize it. You need to minimize this window to get the VMware installation window. So let me show you all what we do by this. If we go there, so we go here again, let me show you all here. Okay, so here what we will do, we will, here I have maximize it and then minimize it. So here we need to minimize so we can see this window. Okay, so tell him next and then complete installation, okay, for the VMware tools, and then install, and then after that it will ask us to restart the virtual machine. So we need to restart it. Okay, so we need to restart. Just a moment guys, I need to see if I am recording. Just a moment. So I think we are recording. Yes, we are. So let's continue. So here it's installing, as we see here, it's installing a video driver. It's installing a couple of drivers for the keyboard and the mouse and the video card or the video graphical card, and all of this will increase the performance of the machine and the integrity also. So here we tell him to restart the machine. And then another thing, if you need to make Control-Alt-Delete, this is done by one key here. So if you don't install the VMware tools, you will not be able to click on this icon to make Control-Alt-Delete. So you will go here and make Control-Alt-Delete and then type the password, and then here we can see that this is the interface. We will type the first command. Okay, so sconfig, this is a non-graphical interface. From it we can do a lot of things. So here we can see, for example, that from this one we can tell him that we need to join a domain or a work group, and then here we can configure the computer name. We can add another user to this Windows operating system. We can configure remote management, as we know later that when we configure a workstation, we will work from it remotely, or we will connect from it remotely to this server. So this option should be enabled. And then Windows update setting, here we are telling him where to get the updates. Okay, so here I'm telling him to download only the updates. There is a lot of options. You can tell him to download the updates only, tell him download and install automatically. Okay, and do not download completely. So as a best practice for a server, do not let the Windows install the updates automatically on a server. Okay, because some updates are not fully tested by Microsoft. So you need to tell the Windows update setting to only download the files, and you as an admin will install these updates manually. And another thing, if you tell the Windows update setting to download and install the updates automatically, it will restart also the server automatically. So we don't need this option, okay, because the server should be online 24/7. So this is the recommended setting for a Windows server core or any Windows server, and it's selected by default download only. And then the 6th option to download and install. So this will download, and if you need to install manually, we need to choose this option. And remote desktop, so you need to also enable this option so we can connect remotely through the remote desktop connection program to this server. And as for the remote management, this option will enable us to work with some tools, okay, that will connect to the server, not remotely, but something as remotely. I will show you all when we come to this how we can use the remote management options. Okay, so we, for example, we will use the Windows Admin Center and Active Directory remote access tools. I will show you all what I mean by the remote management, but this remote desktop, we need to enable it so we can connect remotely to this server using the remote desktop connection. And the network setting, we will work with putting an IP address for the network card, because this server should have a static IP address because it will be a server. And then 9, it will be the date and time. We will verify the date and time. And telemetry setting, this is setting Microsoft collects data, okay, concerning the performance of the Windows 10 and the errors and a lot of things, and send it as a feedback to the Microsoft headquarters to improve the experience for the Windows and to know the common bugs. So for example, if there is a problem here that it is repeated in all of the servers and it is reported by the telemetry setting to Microsoft, Microsoft can rectify or fix this error. So as a best practice, okay, because this is related to the privacy, we will tell him to be the restrictive one. We don't need a lot of data to be collected from our servers and sent to the Microsoft website, even it is for increasing the performance or improving the performance of the Windows. We don't know which data is collected, so we tell him telemetry setting security. This is the most restrictive setting for the telemetry. It will only collect basic data and send it to Microsoft, okay. And this is the Windows activation. If you want to activate the Windows, and then to log off the user, restart the server, shut down, and then to get out of this utility, you tell him 15. So first of all, we need to change the computer name. So we'll choose 2, and then tell him enter the computer name, tell him RACC01, and press enter, and then you need to restart the machine to have the name in effect. So now as you see here that the load time is very fast because it doesn't contain any graphical interface, so it's much quicker in downloading. And then we type the password, or sorry, in booting I mean, and then we'll put the password, and then we have already changed the just a moment, we have changed the name. And then to get to the PowerShell, we need to type PowerShell and press enter. The PowerShell, it is a mode through which we can do a lot of things to the Windows, okay, especially the Windows Core, okay, and any Windows, but this is a mode that you can do a lot of things. You can automate, you can get information. So PowerShell is very powerful mode through which you can manage different Windows operating systems, okay. And so here we'll type PowerShell. I think who am I, this is another command. When you type it, it gives you the user name that is logged into this machine. So if you type who am I, who is logged into this machine now, it is the administrator account. So this is the first command that you will type and learn, okay, how to know which user is logging into this machine, okay. So we'll type who am I, then we type PowerShell and press enter. Now we will get to the PowerShell command prompt. So here is it, and Z, okay, this what is the Z account? Okay, the Z here, this is, remember that I have put in this virtual machine setting that I tell him to share some folders between my host and my guest. So these shared folders are mapped as a network drive. This network drive is Z by default for the VMware. So I type Z, okay, and then we can see here that these are the folders that I have shared when I created this virtual machine. So here I can access the folders and get the data I need, okay. So here, for example, if I need to access a certain folder, what should I do? Here I type cd change directory. So in a normal Windows situation, you will double click on my computer, double click on the partition that contains the folder, and then double click on the folder itself to access it. From a command prompt, you need to type cd or change directory and type the name of the folder, okay. And also through the PowerShell, you don't need to type the name. You can just click on the tab or type the first 2 letters or any letter of the folder and press tab. It will complete the name of the folder. We will see now how this is done. So what we will do here, need to go, first of all, if you need, for example, to get a folder here automatically, you just need to type // and then type the first letter of the folder and press tab. It will get you the name of the folder completely, So for example, if you are in the C partition and you need to access some folders in the C or D or any partition, just type cd then dot then slash and then type the first letter of the folder, or even if you don't type the first letter of the folder, just press tab, it will get you all of the folders in the partition. So let's wait. What we will do here, we will type AD and then tab, so here it gets us the folder. So here we can access the folder. Then I can access a little bit of a folder, COVID-19. This is another folder. Okay, so here I am in the folder, okay. Tell him Dyer to list all of the things in this folder, and then I need to set up PowerShell 7. So here let's wait for a moment. Here I have an installation file. Let me show you all. This is a file for PowerShell 7. This is, by the way, the PowerShell installed on Windows Server 2019 is PowerShell 5. Okay, there is a new version of PowerShell which is PowerShell 7, so I need to install it on this virtual machine. So I have browsed and get to this destination to run this installation file for the PowerShell 7, because we'll use it later. PowerShell 7 has a lot of features which is not included in PowerShell 5, and by the way, they will work beside each other. So they will work with each other. So if you install PowerShell 7, it will not uninstall PowerShell 5. Okay, and we will see how we can access both PowerShell modes with different commands. So let's wait and see. Here for example, we can type dot then slash and then tab. It will get all of the files in this folder. Okay, so here we'll tell him dot tab, and then as you see here, tab, and then we will install the PowerShell 7. Okay, so here next, tell him to install it. Next, it will be installed in C Programs PowerShell, and then enable PowerShell remoting. This option will enable us to use the PowerShell from a remote machine and apply commands on this machine. So we will go to a workstation, a remote workstation, and open a PowerShell command and execute some commands that will be in effect, or it will take effect on this machine remotely. Okay, if you don't click on this option, you will not be able to do this from a remote machine. So enable PowerShell remoting. This is a very important option, so we can do PowerShell commands from a remote machine and take effect on this machine. So we will do this. We will install the PowerShell 7, and I'll show you all how we can run PowerShell 7 and PowerShell 5 from the same machine. Okay, so because PowerShell 5 it is installed in a certain location, and PowerShell 7 it is installed on another location. So here let's see, it's updating the components. Okay, and now I will show you all how we can run PowerShell 7. So all of this, we are preparing the server, okay, before promoting it to be a domain controller. Okay, so now we will exit. Okay, and then what we will do here, let me show you all. So here another thing, if you want, just a moment, if you want to get to the C drive, so now we are in a folder called users administrators. What about if I need to go or get out of administrators and go to the C users? Okay, I need to be standing or to be in the users folder. So we'll tell him cd double dots, it will get you back one folder. Okay, so let's see what I mean by this. Type cd double dots. So now what we have, what we've done, we are standing now in the C users. So it is like clicking back in the graphical interface. So now he is in the C users folder. Now we want to get to the C drive. Okay, we will get out of the users folder. So now we'll type C double dots. So now we are on the C drive. Now we will tell him to access a certain folder which is program files. Okay, program files. From it we need to access the PowerShell 7. Okay, so PowerShell 7, it is installed in this folder. Okay, and PowerShell 5, it is installed in Windows PowerShell. So if we need to access the PowerShell 5, you just tell him PowerShell and press enter. As for PowerShell 7, you need to browse or to go to the directory and C program files PowerShell, and then to a folder called 7, and then type pwsh.exe. I will show you all what I mean by this, but wait for a moment. So here we need to go to the PowerShell folder. So let me get it a little bit quicker here, so just a moment. So here we can see that here you need to go to CD PowerShell in the program files, and then CD7 folder, and in this folder, okay, there is a program called pwsh.exe. You type it and press enter, you will go to the PowerShell 7 mode. As for the PowerShell 5, you have all seen that you need only to type PowerShell and press enter. Okay, so let's see how this will be done. Just a moment, I need to get it back here, just a moment. So let's go there and see. So here, just a moment, here we can see that you need only to type PowerShell. Okay, PowerShell, this will get you to the PowerShell 5 mode. So now we are in the PowerShell 5 mode. To get to the PowerShell 7 mode, we will do just a moment here. Let me show, because all of this are not so let's see here. Here we will go to the folder that contains PowerShell 7. So here we'll tell him CD program files. You need to all type programs and then space or tab, and then CD or dir, and then CD PowerShell, okay, and press enter, and then dir, or to go to the folder 7, okay, dir first, we go to this folder, okay, and then in it there is dir, there is something called pwsh. So here, let me show you all, just a moment, let me show you all what I mean. So this is framework. So here, just a moment, so here in this destination there is an exe file, or there is a file. When you type it and press enter, it will get you to the PowerShell 7 mode. As for the PowerShell 5, you need only to type PowerShell and press enter. So to access PowerShell 7, you need to go to this destination, okay, and type pwsh.exe, press enter. Okay, so now we are in PowerShell 7 mode. Okay, so now we'll begin executing. Here we need to make teaming between the two network cards. Okay, we have done this in previous labs through the graphical interface. Okay, but now we will do this through the command prompt interface. Okay, so here what we will do first, we will issue command, okay, get net adapter. This will list the network adapters in your virtual machine. So let's here type get network adapter. So you need to copy, okay, and then tell him paste net adapter. So as we can see here, it had list that we have two network adapters. This is the type of the network adapter, the manufacturer of the network adapter. An index, this is a number to flag or to flag the network adapter. So you can access the network adapter by name or by number. Okay, 5. And here is the MAC address for the network adapter and the speed for the network adapter. So all of these are information. Now we need to tell him to team these two network cards adapter together. So we'll issue another command. This is all done from the internet, so I don't memorize the commands. So here we'll type this command, and I'll show you all what I mean by this. Let me describe the command in a brief. So here we will type the command. So what this command? The command network team, and then you name the connection or the team the connection. So another thing, every one of these network adapters has a network connection in the Windows. Okay, after teaming these two together, they will have, or this teaming will have, a separate network connection. So for example, we have one network adapter, second network adapter, so we have two network connections. When we team them, we will have a third network connection. So we name this third network connection, or the teamed network connection, we name it as LAN, and then we tell him which network adapters you need to team, the team members. We will be Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1. This is the name of the two network adapters. So here we are telling him the network team connection name and the members or the network adapter names that will be teamed. Okay, so here we'll have Ether 0 and Ether 1. So here we'll go and tell him Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1. Okay, so here we tell him Ethernet 1 first. We will team Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1. So here we have both of them will be teamed, and press enter. So here it will tell you that we are creating a team between two members. The network connection of the team will be named LAN, and the teaming mode will be switch independent, and the load balancing algorithm will be transport port. So we will accept the defaults and tell him yes, I need to team these two network adapters, okay, together. In the graphical interface, the loading balance algorithm was the one that I used. It was called dynamic, not transport ports. Anyway, we will enable the defaults, okay, or we'll work with the defaults, okay, and we will see how we can confirm that the teaming has been done. So first we tell him yes, and now we will get a confirmation. So here, just a moment, here he's telling us the name of the new connection, the members, and the name of the network connection, the configuration of the teaming we have discussed earlier, and the status. It is degraded. Degraded, it means that the network connection or the network adapters, they are not up yet. Okay, they are not up, they are down. Okay, degraded, it's not down, but it's in a mode between down and up, but it's not fully functional. So we need to wait for a couple of seconds and run a certain command to see the status here to be up. Let me show you all what I mean by this. So here we will type another command, something to get LB teaming. So there is another command to get the status of the connection of the teamed network adapters. Let's see here, get LT team. So here we see it needs to be up. Here, get lab team, or get the teaming status of these two network adapters. We need to see it as up. So let's wait for a moment and press enter. Here we can see that it will change it from degraded to up. So now they are up and fully functional. Okay, so we need to make sure that the status of the two teamed network adapters to be changed from degraded to up. Okay, so now we have both of them, and then we need to go again. We need to have some test. We need to make sure, or if we need to make sure that the teams are correct, we will type another command to get, or I need to know what are the team members, okay, of this network teaming. So let me show you what I mean by this. When you type the command LBO and then tab, okay, what we can see here, when you type the command, he will get you the two network adapter names. This is not this is not the command. Okay, there is another command. I will show you all what I mean by this. Just a moment. This is not the command that I mean. There is another command that will get every network adapter in this teaming. It will get its details. So let's wait and see here what we mean by this. Just a moment. So get not LB team, LB team member. So here the first command, get net LTB team, it will get the status of the teamed connection, okay, between the two network adapters. As for get net LB FO team member, it will get the information about the two network cards that are members of the teamed connection. So here we can see that we have two network adapters, Ethernet 1, the name of the manufacturer, the team, they are team in LAN, they are active, okay, there is no failure, and this is the other network adapter. So here by this command you can check if there is failure in one of the two team members of the network team connection. So you can get this by this command. So for example, if one of them are down, you can type get net lb team member status, so it will get you the status of the two network cards. Okay, so if one of them is failed, you will get here a failed. Okay, if not, and it's not active, it will be inactive. Okay, so this is another command. So we need, after making the teaming, we need to configure. So we need to put a static IP address. Before doing this, let's see how we can access the teamed network connection. We have all, as I said to you all, that after teaming the two network cards, there will be a third network connection created in the Windows. So let's see how we can get it, or get the name of this third network connection in the server. So it will be named as LAN. So get netlb of team nec. This is the third network connection. So we need to access the third network connection. Okay, so we can set an IP address. Okay, let me show you all how this will be done also. So here, if we type this command and press enter, this is not the command. Here, remember that this is the name that we will access. So we'll type sconfig and go to set IP setting. This is the name of the network adapter that we will set the IP on. So it's not Ethernet 0 or Ethernet 1. We will play with this one. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean, but remember the name. It's Microsoft Network Adapter Multiplexer Drive. Remember this. Okay, so when we set a static IP address, we will only have this name available for us as a network adapter. So we will not have the other two network adapters name Ethernet 0, Ethernet 1. We'll have this only available. I will show you in a second what I mean by this. So let's wait and see. We type sconfig and then we will tell him, we will take it one by one. The first thing we need to is to add a local administrator. Here 8, this is the network adapter setting. So just wait for a moment. Here 8, we need to have network setting. Here is the network card that is available for us. We don't have Ethernet 0 or Ethernet 1. Remember, Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1, they have index of 4 and 5. They are not available here. The available one, it is the teamed network connection, which is network adapter multiplexer, and you can see it's getting an a PIPA address, or an automatic address. We need to change it. So here we'll select the network adapter. We can type 3. Okay, we will type 3 and then press enter, so we can set an IP address on this. Here you can see one, and then we tell him, he asks you about two things. It will be, this IP address will be set by a DHCP server, or it will be static. Of course it will be a static server, because this is a server, so the IP of the server should be always fixed, should not be changed. If you tell him as DHCP, it will be changed dynamically. So this is not good for a server. The best practice is to have, when you have a server, you need to have a static IP address. So we'll tell him a static IP address. Just wait for a moment, guys, please. So let's continue, guys. Here now we will begin. Just a moment. Just a moment. I think we are recording. Yes. Yes, we are. So here we'll tell him static, and then tell him it's 192.168.1.8 as we have said in the graph. Okay, and then we will give it a subnet mask. If you press enter, it will be the default one, 255.255.255, and then we put the gateway, so we get the server to the internet. As we will know later that, remember, this is the IP address of my host, so my host will be the virtual gateway. As a best practice, you need to have your servers not to access the internet. We will do that later. The only servers that are permitted to access the internet as a best practice is your WSOS server and the antivirus server. Okay, that you will deploy, or it will be, you have a server for the antivirus that will manage all of your anti-server agents on your machines. So these two servers need to have their updates and their definition files updated regularly. So these two servers are permitted to access the internet. As for the other ones, they should be blocked from accessing the internet. We will do that later, but not now, when we harden the server. So now we have these IP addresses, and then we set the DNS server and put it the Google DNS server, so I can access the internet. So you can put the gateway as this one and put the DNS to be the gateway, but I prefer to put an external DNS server. So you can put your DNS or preferred DNS as your gateway, or you put an external server, DNS server like Google. Okay, so we'll put this, and we will uncheck it, or we will remove it, because we need to make this server a domain controller, but not now. So now we will press 4 and then return to the main menu, and then we will begin working with each one of these options. First of all, we will create a local administrator account, and why are doing this? Just for the sake of argument, if the first administrator account is blocked or not working for any reason, I have a backup plan. I can work with another or additional or a second administrator account. Okay, but as a best practice, you will disable an administrator account, and if you make another account as an administrator, you need to make sure to change its password regularly. Okay, so this user should have its password updated regularly. Okay, this is one you need to take care of. Okay, and then you will tell him local administrator. So here he's telling you another option. If you need to have, or if you are making in a domain environment, to make an administrator account in a domain, so you need to type the domain, then the username that you need to put or need to create. If you are in a work group, you need only to type the name of the user. So this is very clear here. So now we will type the name. So I tell him care of 2. This will be the second administrator account. Now he will tell me to type a password and confirm the password. Here I have mistaken and I type it more than once, or it's not matched, or it's not matching. So here I will type it again and confirm it, and then the user is created. So now we will go and configure, or we will type 4 to configure remote management. This or 7. This is just a moment. This is, first of all, we type 7, this to enable remote desktop. So here the first thing we need to do is to allow remote desktop, and to choose the first one, to allow only clients with network level authentication. So this is secure, so this will enable any user to access the server remotely if he has rights to do this. Okay, so for example, there is a group in the Active Directory called remote users. If the user is in this group, he will be able to access this server remotely using the remote desktop connection. So we will tell him enable remote desktop, and to allow only clients running remote desktop with network level authentication, or to have rights. He need to be in the correct group that have their correct rights to access the server. Okay, so we tell him 1 and press enter. This is enabled, and then we need to do another thing. We need to configure remote management. This is another thing to enable remote connection. So first of all, we need to configure server response to ping. So here you can disable ping to the server, but this is not practical, because if we need to know if the server is up and down, the ping will be our only way to know this. So we need to configure the server to respond to ping. So we need to enable this option. But in some environments, maybe this to prevent some kind called DOS attack. So you can close the ping but it is recommended to troubleshoot connections between servers or network connections to open the ping to the server. Okay, so we'll tell him to configure server to respond to ping. Yes, and then we need to enable remote management. It is already enabled, but we'll just make sure 4, and then we need, I think we'll type 4 again. We type 4 and then enable remote management. It is already enabled, but we'll type it again as 1. So it is already enabled. Okay, but just checking, and then 4 to return to the main menu, and then we will, I think we will work with the time. I think it's 9 maybe. Let's see. 9. Then we will see here we need to change the time zone to reflect Cairo. Okay, so because the domain controller should have the correct time setting, because it will act as NTP server. Okay, so this should be, or as the time server. Okay, the domain controller act as the time server, and now it is changed to reflect Cairo time zone, and then the time is not correct, so I'll just type it. We are 4 p.m. It's not 1 p.m. It's 4 p.m. not a.m. So we'll type it. Okay, I'll change it. So now we have changed the time setting, and then we need to also configure the telemetry setting. So just we type 9 just to make sure that everything is working, and then we'll type 10. As for the telemetry setting, we have discussed what is the telemetry setting. We need to make it. So here we tell him change telemetry setting. Okay. For yes. So now here we need to choose the most secure one. It is number 1 or number 2. So when you are activating telemetry setting on the server, you need to choose 1 or 2. Okay, this is the best things to do, not enhanced, not full. Okay, so the best one to use security. Okay, so we'll use security. Just a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. Here, as I said before, we will make the telemetry not enhanced, but should be security or basic. This is the best practice. Okay, but 3 is it's not recommended, so I have mistaken this one. And then we will now we need to download, or we need to update this machine. By the way, first of all, we will make a restart. I think no, they will make a restart. What you need to do, this machine will be a domain controller. Okay, so now this operating system is not fully updated, because this system is released, I think maybe November to 2020. Okay, so we are now 2021, so we need to update the operating system to the latest update. Okay, or install the security updates and the latest update to make it not vulnerable to any attacks, and to update its antivirus. By the way, I hadn't installed any antivirus on this virtual machine, so it has Windows Defender by default. Okay, so we need to update the Windows to make it, or install the latest security updates. Okay, and update the Windows Defender definition files to make the antivirus updated to the latest updates. Okay, and by the way, you can install another antivirus on this type of Windows, especially Windows Core. You can install, I think, McAfee or Kaspersky or whatsoever, but here I don't have, because all of them are not free, so I am depending upon the Windows Defender. And by the way, the Windows Defender can be updated using the WSOS, so this is another advantage. So you can update Windows and update the Windows antivirus from the WSOS. So this will be an advantage that we will use, but I prefer, of course, to have another antivirus instead of Windows Defender, because it's not effective at all. Okay, so let's see here. We restart the server and then press Ctrl Alt Delete, and then we will log in. Okay, and now we need to update the Windows, but before that we need to update the antivirus. So before going to the internet and download the Windows update, we need to make sure our antivirus is up to date. So here, by this command from the PowerShell, we will update the Windows Defender. Okay, so now we will go and type PowerShell, or I think we will go to PowerShell 5 or PowerShell 7. No, I will go to PowerShell 7. So here I will tell him to change directory to program files and go to the folder that contains the PowerShell 7 executable file. Okay, so now we'll go to C program files, press enter, or you can type cd dot slash and then press tab to get the folder. So cd, okay, I think no, maybe okay, cd double dots, so cd program files, tab program files, and then cd PowerShell, okay, and then cd7. This is the folder that contains the PowerShell 7 executable file. So pwsh.exe, this will let us access the PowerShell 7 module. Okay, so now we will go and type the command update mps or mp signature. Okay, Microsoft, I think this will update the Windows Defender definition files. So now we are updating our antivirus, and then after that we will begin updating our operating system. Okay, so this is a best practice. If you have a server, you need, before making it accessing the internet, you need to make sure that your you need to make sure that its antivirus is updated. So now it's updating the Windows Defender. Okay, and then we will update the operating system, and then after that we'll promote the server to be a domain controller. Here, this command that we are typing here, it's called PS remoting. Remember that this is the option that we have choose when we installed PowerShell 7. So enable PS remoting will enable us to open a PowerShell from a remote machine and type commands that will be reflected or it will be implemented on this machine. So we need to have the option PS remoting enabled. Okay, and by the way, I thought that I need to enable this option on PowerShell 7 and PowerShell 5. So I think we need to do both commands on both PowerShell modules. But anyway, here is saying us that PowerShell 6 does not affect PowerShell, or this is I think what I am talking about, that we need to run this command again on PowerShell 5. So let's wait and see. So here now we have already the PowerShell enabled, and WinRM or Windows Remote Management, it's already configured. We have done this from the sconfig files or the sconfig utility. So now I think we need to type sconfig and go and update the Windows, but before that we need to go to the PowerShell. So we type cd double dots and then cd double dots and then cd users and administrators. We don't need all of this anyway, but we type PowerShell or enable PS remoting. Why you are typing it again? Because if I am doing this, it will enable PowerShell remoting on PowerShell 5. Okay, here we are enable PowerShell remoting on PowerShell 7. Okay, so this is the trick that we are talking about. So now we have everything up and running. Now we need to go and do a couple of things. We need to disable the firewall. By the way, I need to disable the firewall on the Windows server. This is the best practice, to disable Windows firewall. Okay, but before doing this, you need to make sure that you have already a hardware firewall. Okay, something like FortiGate or Sophos or Cisco ASA or whatsoever, and you need to make sure that you have an antivirus, a strong antivirus with an intrusion detection installed, and malware also add-on added, and the firewall if there is a firewall. Okay, so we'll disable only, or it's a best practice to disable Windows firewall on servers. Okay, so now what we will do, we need to disable the firewall on the Windows Server Core for all of the networks, for the domain network, for the private network, for the public network. So we will do this. And by the way, I have used a video as a reference. I will tell you first of all what is this command. This command will enable remote management. We have done this from the sconfig, but you can do it from the PowerShell using this one. Okay, so we will make sure it is already there. So we have done this already, but we can do it from the command prompt. So we can do it from sconfig or do it as a command prompt. So now we tell him win rm, it's telling us that's already enabled, and this we have done it from the sconfig. Okay, remember. Okay, and then I will do it from the PowerShell 7, so I'm doing it twice, one from the PowerShell 4 or 5 and PowerShell 7, so just to make sure that they are enabled on both modules. Okay, but anyway, it's already there, so we need to disable the firewall. This is the command that we'll do. So there is a command we will type to disable firewall for the domain, if you have a domain network and if you have a private network or a public network. So, and by the way, it will not have disable, or it will not have public network. So this is the command to disable the firewall completely. Okay, set it for the profile for domain, public and private, enable false. So this will disable the firewall. Okay, and then we need to update the Windows. Okay, and by the way, let me show you all this beautiful reference. I have used this video, so just wait for a moment and show you all something here. So if you can go up, another up. Okay, this is I will show you all the video that I use as a reference. This is a very good channel. I will recommend you all to use it. But anyway, now we will go and type sconfig and then configure the Windows update. We will type 6 to download and install updates 6. Okay, I think we can pause it real quickly maybe. So 6, just a moment. So here we type 6 and then he will tell you to search for all updates or recommended updates. By the way, we need all updates, so it will take a little bit of time. It will search for the update and then it will display how much updates it gets. And by the way, the updates for the core edition of Windows is less, so you will see less updates when you are using the Windows Core. As for the normal one, you will have a lot of updates. Okay, because of the graphical interface, of course. Okay, so here we can see that we will have only 5 updates. Okay, so this operating system, or this version, or the DVD that I have installed the Windows Core from it, was 2020, was released 2020. So here we can see that there are only 5 updates. So this is much less. Okay, so here we have updates for NetFrame, updates for the operating system, cumulative update. You can see here that it gets the antivirus. Okay, so you can update your antivirus and the Windows in one shot. Okay, so now it's downloading the update. It will take a little bit of time until it download the updates and then install the updates, and then it will ask you to restart the server. So this is one, so it requires a restart. And we can see this all succeeded. Installation result succeeded. So if there is any fail installation, it will be displayed also. And then press enter. So now it will restart. So here we have prepared our server, okay, to be promoted as a domain controller. So our operating system is up to date, our antivirus is up to date, our machine is renamed, or our domain controller has took a name. We have our remote tools, or the remote options on the server is ready, so we can access this server remotely or through PowerShell. So everything is up for us. We need to promote this server to be a domain controller through also the PowerShell. We will see this in the upcoming video, but now we have prepared our server. Everything is up and running. The firewall is disabled. Okay, we have everything, but let me wait and see if there is anything else. I think the video is or we have reached the end of the video, but just wait for a moment. So here it's working on update. It will take a little bit of time, and then at the end we will press Ctrl Alt Delete. So as we see here that the Windows is much lighter and more responsive. Okay, if you have a graphical interface, maybe there is a lot of processing from the RAM and the processor, but this, as I said before, here I am putting it 1 GB of RAM and it's working fine for me. There is no delay, there is no performance issues. Okay, so we can see here that it's much lighter and much secure. Okay, so we will wait for a moment. I think maybe we can pause it real quickly here. So here we will type, or we'll press Alt Delete. I don't know, I am waiting. So here we will press Alt Delete and then put the password. Okay, and then we can log in. So now we are prepared to promote this server to be domain controller, but before this we'll do a couple of changes. Okay, but not I will not discuss it in this video. Here we can restart, we can shut down, we can do a lot of things, but before that we will take a snapshot. So after what we have done, we will take a backup. So here we will take a backup, we name it before domain. So now, so not to have all of my thing erased. For example, if I have anything that if I messed up or something, so here I'm taking a backup of this virtual machine before accessing it or promoting it to be a domain controller. So this is a best practice to take a snapshot. We can see that snapshot is very quick because it doesn't have any graphical interface. So now we are taking a snapshot, and after that we will shut down the server from the command here, or you can shut it from here. Okay, you can click here and shut down, so you can close it or shut it down from the interface here or from the VM Workstation Pro. So after you installed the VMware tools, you can shut down the machine from here. Okay, even though you are not clicking or something. I will show you all this in the upcoming video also. So the VMware tools is very essential to have a complete integration between the host and the guest, and to have to use the VMware full features correctly. Okay, so now we will type 14 to shut down the server. 14 and press enter. So now we tell him to shut down the server. So basically the sconfig helps you to configure the Windows Server Core. There is something similar in the Linux, and actually it was taken from the Linux. So now we'll just power off, we'll not take a snapshot, we have done this before. So this is the end of the video. Hope this video is informative for you all, and until the next video we will promote the server to be a domain controller. Thank you so much. Until the upcoming video, thank you.